Okay, for more on this, we are now being joined by Lauren Tomlinson. She is a former Deputy Assistant of Secretary at the Department of Homeland Security, and she's joining me now from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us on WION. Do you think that President Biden's trip could grant fresh leverage to influence events on the ground and bolster his image at home at the same time?
I think most importantly, Biden coming at the heels of Blinken's whirlwind diplomatic tour really reinforces American support for Israel in their efforts to dismantle the Hamas terrorist organization. I do think that domestically it's important for Biden to continue to communicate frequently, transparently, honestly, all the time about the threat that Israel faces, the civilians being killed, and the support that America has for Israel during this time as they try to beat back the Hamas terrorist organization.
And what are the security challenges as President Biden heads to Israel? I mean, there are so many to talk about. It's a war zone. Sirens keep blaring in Tel Aviv. And then, of course, it's the issue of whether or not not only Hamas, but its proxies would even want to try something.
Absolutely. There's an increased security risk that the president's team will have to be aware of, and I'm sure that they're taking that into account. They'll be very careful about his movements, telegraphing where he'll be and when, and those types of items. However, America has a really robust defense system and intelligence service, and I have full faith that they will be able to take care of the president as he makes these really important visits.
Yeah, and the timing is just extremely sensitive. It comes at the cusp of a possible ground invasion of Gaza. I'd love to know what you think about that. Would this sort of stall this ground invasion, or if the ground invasion goes on ahead, would perhaps Hamas again and its proxies of Iran perhaps be more careful because there is a U.S. president in Israel? And is anyone thinking that President Biden is going to Israel to prevent this ground invasion? I know it's a big question.
Yeah, big question. I don't think that it would necessarily stall the ground invasion. I do think that one of America's most important roles in this conflict is to be there for Israel on the international stage as they do what they need to do to protect their people. And that means being able to be there the morning after and make sure that people understand that Israel had the right to defend themselves and dismantle this terrorist organization. Even, regardless of what happens with the ground invasion, Biden's focus is going to be, one, communicating to the world stage America's support and defend Israel in whatever actions they end up taking. And then two, making sure that the humanitarian options are available, that civilians are not impacted, that aid is able to get to those impacted. It's very big that Blinken was able to negotiate, aid paths through Egypt to make sure that Gaza gets what they need in order to take care of the civilians. So, that is going to be a second part of this, is not only defending Israel and their actions, but also making sure that America shows support for the humanitarian cause of the people that are going to be impacted by this.
Lauren Tomlinson, thank you so much for joining us from Washington, D.C., former Deputy Assistant of Secretary at the Department of Homeland Security. Your insight is so valuable. I hope to speak to you again very soon.
Thank you.